I search for peace in the belly of a beast. Sick boy on a matter P.I. Running up a fever, following a leader. Wanna be me, huh? Grass isn't greener. Bright light seizure, dynamite dealer. Dine at the table of the coroner, E-top. I raise my fist at anti-capitalistic, pissed I revel. In society collapsing, fantastic, now pump the treble. Tick to the top with the tip of my tongue and time and telepathy. Terrify them with the terrible telekinesis. Tantrum is I talk to the enemy. Flowing and flowing and growing. I'm lying in truth, it's a fire in the booth. Switch up the star like bisex and pressure. Heavy lift, tricep, bicep, I flex the thunder and lightning writing on Tesla. Connect directly or disconnect.
Settle down, it's not so bad. It's the way the world, life spits us out and makes us mad. It goes to show when you notice all you have, it returns to dust, and even us, a perfect grain of sand. I cannonball into the wall. The world seems so small, pushing splinters in my skin. My self-made safety pins, tired minds intertwine. It's something quite divine, pushing splinters in my skin until I'm done bleeding.
Iawn mate, nes fi watchod y ffilm Kneecap ddoe, ac nes o made mi feddwl bod siarad Cymraeg yn bwysig iawn, achos well, mae'n mynd I marw otherwise, you know what I mean? Dwi'n like pretty much Wenglish, ti'n gwybod, achos dwi ddim yn practisio Cymraeg, dwi ddim wedi siarad o ers like 13 blwyddyn neu rhywbeth fel hwn, ond dwi'n mynd rwan I practisio mwy achos dwi'n meddwl mae'n bwysig, man. Mae neb really yn y byd yn siarad o, ond still, mae'n like part of my heritage, you know what I mean? I think it is important to kind of learn more about history and heritage and stuff like that, just to know where you came from, your roots and shit like that. And you know, like the Celtics, we weren't so much, we were kind of focused on community and the places that we were. We weren't so much involved in like neo-colonialism and the bloody history of Britain. We were kind of like kept ourselves to ourselves, and we did a good job of raising some fucking warriors and stuff, and we put up a good fight when we were invaded. But you know, history has shown it's why you don't have sort of like Gaelic and Welsh and stuff all over the world, because we're not cunts. Before I get a bunch of like overly defensive patriots in my comments, man, it's a joke. It's just a joke. But like, you know, the world does speak English because it's seeped in blood. It's just a fact, man. And I think it is important to keep sort of like heritage alive. I think it's important to keep like that diversity alive and the variations in cultures and stuff like that, rather than making everything just homogenized, because like even like dialectic differences, they're a beautiful thing, man. You know, that sort of melting pot of life, and all the different languages and ways that we communicate, which formed from different points of genesis and origin. It's a beautiful thing, man. So it's a good thing to celebrate. So I think that film's wicked, man, for making me even start to think about that. So big up those boys, man. That was sick.
I've got a lot of people in my DMs asking what book I'm reading. Welcome to Book Club. This is the Emerald Tablet interpretation by Matthew Barnes. And it's about this ancient artifact called the Emerald Tablet that was found in the tomb of Hermes Trismegistus, which is a hell of a name. And it was basically this big green emerald tablet, ancient tablet, that was supposed to contain the secrets to alchemy, which was transforming matter, basically changing matter from one thing into another thing. And it's also where the saying as above, so below came from. The theory being that what you affect in this reality also affects something else. And that you can't, every action has consequences that we may not even be aware of. I think it's really cool. Anyway, it's that interpretation. I'm only really just getting started in it, but I'll let you know how it goes. So far, juicy, 10 Rens out of Ren.
I'll be going down some pretty fascinating rabbit holes this morning, chatting to ChatGPT. I wanted to put my money where my mouth is when I was saying learning about tradition and history and do it a little bit more, because in school I was just a little shit adamant on destruction and chaos in the classroom. But so I started learning more about the Druids and some inherited lineage. And I grew up on an island called Anglesey, which is the big island of. So in 60 AD, there was the Battle of Anglesey, also known as the Battle of Menai, which is interesting, man, because Menai Bridge is where I grew up. I've got a bit of a weird relationship with the Menai Bridge because that's where I lost a really fucking good friend. But it's basically like the Romans invaded, and there was this big battle, this big bloody battle that ensued, and a lot of we put up a good fight, but ultimately the Druids were overcome. It was like, it's called the last battle of the Druids, the last stand of the Druids, and their culture was knocked down. And there was still some Druids that survived, but the culture was ultimately knocked down. But it was interesting because then I started going down some rabbit holes learning about Druids and their connection and their value system and stuff like that. And it's super interesting because it just echoes my own without me even knowing or having to dip my toes in that water. There were just so many points of relatability that I found now, which is super fucking interesting considering I'm relatively new to exploring this world. It's almost like inherited values from some sort of innate primal source rather than a place of learning. But yeah, so the Druids were very focused on being mediators between opposing schools of thought, trying to settle debates peacefully and trying to use their wisdom to try and basically stop conflict and bring it to peace in a way that uses words, that uses mediation, that uses common sense, and finding common ground. And they were also very strong believers of homeostasis and symbiotic relationship to nature, and kind of seeing yourself as part of nature, and using that philosophy to guide your actions in so that you're not destructive in the way that you interact with the world, the way that you operate with the world. It's kind of honouring that homeostasis, which, by the way, is integral for our survival. It just is. To think otherwise is ignorant. It's the law of equivalent exchange. If you take, you've got to learn how to give back, because otherwise, if you take all the cookies, eventually the cookie aren't in the jar anymore, so to speak. If you're not replenishing the jar, a very simplified metaphor for how we operate here on Earth. But anyway, yeah, man, it made me proud. It made me even more proud to be Welsh, to dig into all this stuff, you know. Yeah, just an interesting little tangent. By the way, ChatGPT is so good for just fucking. I've just started doing it all the time. I just chat away to it for hours sometimes, and I feel like I'm filling my brain with good stuff because it just knows everything. Long live the cyborg revolution, man. But yeah, I just thought I would share that with the world.
Right, an ADHD tangent extrapolation from inside the space pod, right? So I was thinking even more, right? So the Roman Empire were largely responsible for the eradication of the Druids, right? They were also responsible for killing that Jesus bloke who, whether or not you're religious or not, there's historical evidence that he was indeed a real person, and whether or not you believe in the miracles, he's reportedly a bit of a lad, you know, a bit of a nice fella. And they were also largely responsible for the eradication of a lot of spiritual or religious practices which valued peace and nature more than expansion, like paganism. And they led to the stigmatization of things like paganism, to associate it with the occult and witchcraft in a satanic sort of way, rather than what it actually stood for, which was, again, symbiosis, much like the Druids, honouring the natural world and nurturing that relationship. So the Roman Empire starts sweeping the world like wildfire, right? And a lot of these more ancient values are replaced by more imperialist values, like expansion and growth, progress in an economic sense. And the imperialist value system is kind of the core of capitalism, really. And it's interesting to me because a lot of these older value systems were based on the awe and the relationship with the natural world, the sun and the moon, the night and the day, and all of these sorts of things like that, right? And it's interesting to me because I feel like our new value system and our new religion is kind of based with that imperialist mentality. Even in our personal lives, you know, like we don't feel good enough unless we feel like we've expanded in an economic sense, that, you know, we've made a good life for me and our family by just collecting resources. I've got to collect as many resources as possible because that will be what defines me as a successful, achieved human being. And you know, it's a double-edged sword because those value systems have also led to some pretty amazing innovation, medically, scientifically, technologically. But it could supposedly be argued that if those innovations were rooted more so in a value system that did honour homeostasis with the natural world, and it did honour people and our relationship, our peaceful relationship with each other, with one another, they would have come about anyway. They may even be better. You don't know, I mean, unless you see a parallel dimension where those things are true. But anyway, the point is that if our way of being, our way of thinking, our way of interacting with the world comes from this system that was kind of hell-bent on just eradicating people, preaching really at the core of it love, peace, respect for one another, it makes you wonder if we're slightly misguided on our path as human beings. And remember that how we operate in the world, it's not the laws of physics, it's not like gravity. If I jump I have to fall down. Everything, the way that we interact, our thought patterns and stuff, it's dictated by ideas. Capitalism, imperialism, socialism, communism, anarchy, all of these, they're all ideas, and they're just kind of rooted at the heart of our innate drives and our instincts, and they're shaped somewhat. I would argue that we are masters of our nature, because some people just say, oh well, it's human nature, we'll always revert to these things, we'll always revert to greed, we'll always revert to these as nature. I'd argue that nature, we are masters of our nature to a large degree, which is what separates humans from a lot of other creatures on this planet. You know, like, we don't give in to primal instincts and tear each other apart or fuck each other on the streets because we know that, you know, that would be socially unacceptable. So to a large degree, we are masters of our nature. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that we are also masters of the value systems that we have, and we can shape them in ways that leads to more happiness and more sustainability and better community and just a better feeling of belonging. Like, we are in some of the most economically successful countries on earth, you know, in the West, and we also have some of the highest rates of depression, which is a strange correlation. You would have thought that with more economic growth and expansion and success comes happiness, and ultimately really what matters at the end of the day is that we feel happy, content, like we're enough, like we're fulfilled, like life is beautiful, like life is an adventure to explore. We don't want to feel suppressed or like we just have to do things that we don't want to do because that's just the way of the world. That's up to us to invent that. That's up to us to change that. And we can change that because we're incredibly, incredibly powerful creatures. And sometimes I think, I'll just summarise it with one more point, and I think that learning is sometimes a forgetting, which sounds like a contradictory statement, but I think that learning is sometimes an unlearning. You know, like ancient civilizations like the Mayan people or the Egyptians, who were credited with amazing achievements despite their lack of technology at the time, they had a very close relationship with nature and the sun and the moon and the stars and the day at night, and they were mystified by the awe of it. And then science came along and we tried to explain every single thing down to the atomic molecule, which I think is a brilliant thing, obviously, because it helps progresses in ways, but in some ways when you remove that awe and wonder of the world, you start behaving in a way that is more separated. And I honestly think the truth is there was a lot of truth in those value systems back in the day, that we are all of the same source, we are all the same thing. And it's not like this hippie, oh, we're all the same, we're all equal, man, but it's more like we are different strokes of the same paintbrush, so to speak. You know, there are differences, but they're beautiful, man. And I think that behaving accordingly, where I see myself as an extension of you, you see yourself as an extension of me, doesn't mean we have to agree, doesn't mean that we don't even fight sometimes, right? But because that happens in nature, right? But if all the decisions that we make as a people, as a society, are for the benefit of the hive, for the greater good of, rather than just the benefit of me and my own expansion and my own economic dominance, I genuinely think this world would be a much better place to be, and we'd feel a lot more satiated, we'd feel a lot more satisfied, we'd feel a lot happier. And that responsibility is just a decision, because some people think, well, you can't, you know, it takes all this, but it is simply just a collective decision from everyone. And I truly believe the technology that we could invent with that at the core value, the science, the medicine, everything would be exponentially better than what we have now. And you know, it's bittersweet because that power is just a decision. That's all it is. It's just a decision.
Will now terminate.
It's going to be
Please ensure you have all your belongings with you when you leave the train.
Let's take them back to 74 and have a new pour myself in a breakdown. Talk is secondary, first my specialty, naughty bars and a takeout. Rap like nicotine, sound so addictive, click, click, tickle, flip, Cali daddy hit the scene, so called dopamine, I mean dope scheme, take more head than the baby, the guillotine, Filipina, you should have seen her, she likes girls but I turn Tina, Angelina with a radar tune, Ocarina with a Zelda move, sound so smooth, wax strip groove, don't still wanna make that move, go for food, colour scheme nude, massive like that, shy but rude, and then it's like chorus bar, chorus chord, and the world is yours, that's an art shout out with an awkward pause, because the world is yours. Sorry, this is my fault.
Sick boy, allopathic script boy, pathogenic, schizophrenic, call it medic, quick boy, just wanna scratch the bitch boy, agoraphobic, multi-pulses on it, I'm that sick boy, nothing to lose, nothing to win or to prove, nothing but hold. Somebody, anyone help, I've been going through hell. Hell, I've been going through. I've been at odds with myself. I've been so lost in my health. I've been feeling like my whole life I've been fighting. This cake, it don't have icing. These mantras I'm reciting, they're meant to keep me sane. I don't know if they're working. Cerebral cortex hurting. Maybe it's all learning. Maybe it's cause life is a lottery. What an anomaly. Sometimes it's riches and sometimes it's poverty. My whole life I've been fighting. This cake, it don't have icing. These mantras I'm reciting, they're meant to keep me sane. I don't know if they're working. Cerebral cortex hurting. Maybe it's all learning. Maybe it's cause life is a lottery. What an anomaly. Sometimes it's riches and sometimes it's poverty. Sounds so ill, better call a health inspector. People of the world, people all over the nation. This is my jam, yes I bring the good vibration. And there'll be those who take advantage of the light in your soul. And there'll be times you feel the cup you're feeling leaking with holes. And that dark can get much darker, we all must grow old. But listen up my little sister, hold these words to your close. Keep that kind heart kind, humankind are in need. Never ever let